Hello, EDH Takes Nation. I'm Elijah Samuelson, joined with Spencer Cook, and we've captured a very interesting creature for this episode. Today, we've actually brought in the famed, the legendary Jesse.
If you're a longtime fan of the show, you've definitely heard of the Jesse. Kind of a primordial being of sorts. Jesse, why don't you say something?
See, Hello there.
That is what he sounds like.
Released him from his containment chamber. Mm-hmm. God forgive us if he escapes. We'll try and put him back.
I've got a net trap machine. We can probably get him back in the box.
If you see him outside while you're listening to this, call the authorities, or more so, call your God.
Whatever God you pray to.
You will be sure to meet him quickly, so make your peace with him if you see Jesse.
Call your local SCP. The scientists are waiting.
The SCP Society, yeah. Yeah, get a hold of them.
Jesse, if you had an SCP number, which one would you be?
69, right, Jesse?
Oh, the statue that stabs necks.
Exactly. Well, anyway, Jesse, why don't you introduce the topic of this episode? Because, you are the king of this thing, so you might as well discuss it a little bit.
What did you want to talk about today, Jesse?
Today, we will partially discuss the topic of Jank cards.
Jank, and as that relates to Magic and Commander. Yeah, so, Jesse, what is Jank? What does that even mean?
To start out, what is a Jank? A miserable little pile of cards. But enough talk.
Have at you.
A miserable little pile of cards. Yeah, but what does it mean for Magic, Jesse?
What makes a card jank, in your opinion, as the Jank Lord? Well, maybe you don't have that title. You might have to fight some people for that one, but
we're taking it.
We're taking it back.
Quest for the Jank Lord, starring Jesse.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say it's kind of the dictionary definition has to do with it being of extremely poor or unreliable quality? That kind of holds up for Magic, right, Jesse?
It does, but not for most players.
Yeah, I mean, would you say some players kind of just define it as just bad cards?
Yes, draft chat, overcosted removal.
Yeah, they're a little overcosted. They do too little, or they're just kind of seen as it's a lost cause. It's not great.
I feel like there's a common misconception with Jank, and it's that, at least in terms of how I understand it, I think people would call Jank card. They would describe Jank as similar to that's like a spicy card, but I feel like spice or spiciness doesn't really imply being bad, right?
Yeah,
whereas
Jesse,
Jank,
where's the line between spice and Jank, Jesse? How would you differentiate?
Is it that Jank cards aren't very good? Is that fair?
Well, spicy cards have interesting implications with certain cards, but not to make weird archetypes. Well,
so spice is like a cool combo or something, or like a weird synergy.
A weird synergy.
Spice.
It's a spice.
Interaction, whatnot.
Yeah.
Interaction as opposed to something that's just this is this 5-mana black spell, whatnot. Would cost 1 black and 4 colorless as a sorcery. Destroy target creature. Gain 2 life.
And that's Jank, because it's you wouldn't really want to play it unless you're the king of Jank.
Now, it's possible that Jank could be Spice, but it's probably less likely that Spice would be Jank. We're just sounding insane, but trust us on this one.
But I think one of the things about what this kind of definition of Jank that we're talking about is, maybe there's some specific decks where these draft chaff cards can find a special home. I think now maybe this isn't a very Jesse coded commander, but something like Zada Hedron Grinder, where it makes any of the bad red cantrip spells, or I don't know, it's target a creature, make a treasure.
Even just combat tricks and stuff, kind of crazy, which normally I think people would consider kind of Jank, but in the right decks. You and I, Jesse, we were talking on the phone the other day, and we were kind of trying to come to this definition of Jank for Commander. And would you say it's kind of just suboptimal cards, but ones that aren't necessarily just strictly worse than another card? They are typically unique. You're not just playing Jank to play worse versions of other cards. You're picking the Jank cards because they are functionally unique, but could be replaced by better cards. You say it's accurate?
I'd say that's pretty accurate.
Like you were talking about that, like, you know, some 5 mana kill spell that like gains you 2 life. Like that wouldn't go in a normal deck, but maybe if there's some weird deck that really, really cares about the gain 2 life, maybe it's like, wow, this card could fit here potentially. You think that's what you're thinking? Yeah.
I mean, there's the card I based the example on. There's a card from the Ixalan block.
Yeah.
It's a limited card that's literally just 5 mana, 4 colors for a source to destroy target creature. That's a real card.
Yeah. Would you play that card, Jesse?
No.
Well, why don't we try and maybe make a better example of this? Why don't we talk about one of Jesse's Jank decks that he's built, or a deck that incentivizes Jank cards? And I think your the blue discard deck is a good example, Jesse. You want to talk about that for a second?
Oh yes, I'd love to. All right. So first off, the start, we are. For the far Jank brew, we have this interesting commander, that most people don't typically play. Immerith, Desert Doom.
I like that guy. He's very unique.
This is the blue legendary dragon from not Baldur's Gate commander, but this was the actual Adventures in the Forgotten Realms D&D set, the first one that they did. What didn't necessarily tie into commander. This card's from the main set.
Standard. It was a standard set.
Yeah. But go on, Jesse. Sorry for interrupting you.
It is a. It's a 5 mana creature with double blue, free colorless for a legendary dragon, flying. It has ward as long as it's untapped.
Ward 4, it's a big ward.
Yeah.
It's like hexproof pretty much, right?
Yes, pretty much, yes.
Ojutai coded.
Well, whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card. If you have three or less cards in your hand, you draw cards equal to the difference.
So if you have the point of the deck, I don't want to spoil everything, I guess I said it earlier, but it's a blue discard deck, right, Jesse?
Yeah.
So the idea is, like, your commander, when you hit someone, you get Ancestral Recall. You get to draw 3 cards if your hand's empty.
Now, when people typically say, if I heard somebody say their deck was a discard deck, I would think, oh, they're making me discard the cards. But Jesse, you went a different direction with that. You're making yourself discard the cards to take advantage of things like Immerith. And you've got a lot of other cool cards. Like, you have things that care about you discarding cards. Like, he's not crazy, people. There's a reason for this. It's just, you never see it. And Immerith, like, baseline, good creature. If you can draw 3 cards with it, amazing creature. And I feel like you, Jesse, in this deck, you could pretty consistently get the 3 cards if you wanted to, right?
Yep.
And also, there's, like, a lot of, you might not know this, but there is some slight blue like discard synergy cards these are like the Jank cards we're talking about, right? Like there's a card that's like whenever you discard 1 or more cards, you get that many counters on this creature. There's a couple cards that like get buffed by you discarding cards, right?
Yeah. Jesse, what was the card that inspired this deck?
Well, the card that inspired this deck was Oath of Scholars. No, it's not Oath of Druids.
Not Oath of Druids. That one.
Not Oath of Druids. That is great.
Yeah, I think it's Oath of Scholars, right?
Yeah, Oath of Scholars.
Oath of Scholars is the name.
Yeah,
because everyone knows Oath of Druids. That's the good one. The rest of the cycle, they're mostly pretty much unplayable. The blue one, Oath of Scholars, Jesse. What does that do?
It's a blue champ that costs 1 blue and 4 colors. During each player's upkeep, the player has fewer cards in hand. Target opponent, the player may discard his or her hand to draw 3 cards. And this is for each player.
Yeah, so on each of your opponent's turn, if that player has fewer cards in hand than target opponent. So then that player so on your turn you discard your hand and draw 3 cards pretty much, right?
Pretty much so.
If someone has more cards than you.
Yeah, so
and your opponents can do it too, but they probably don't want to.
Yeah, it's fairly unlikely, right, in Commander. People do go top deck mode, but like, and if they're not in that situation, they'd have to have like nothing to want to do that. So it's almost always just for you. But the reason this card, I think, never really saw any play is because, well, this is a blue card. You want to draw cards, you just do that. But you found a way, Jesse, to make this Jank card, because there is no other Oath of Scholars, right, Jesse? Like, I know you've maybe got like Girapur Ori, which does like kind of a similar thing, but there is no Oath of Scholars that's just better than that, right? For what you want.
That is correct. There is only one of the card There's only one on the card, but it's type, yes.
Yeah, so that Oath of Scholars definitely is a jank card that you would not normally want to play. Something I like about this deck, Jesse, and we'll put the deck in the description if any of you guys want to take a look at it. I would recommend it because it's pretty interesting. I would actually, if you want to look at it, I'd recommend maybe trying to like goldfish it on Architect or something because it kind of cooks sometimes, honestly.
Jesse went kind of crazy with it the last time he played it. He had that new artifact from Ether Drift Commander.
Monument of Endurance.
Yeah, where when you discard a card, you choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn. You can either draw a card, create a treasure token, or have each opponent lose 3 life. And he copied it, and so he could, on each player's turn, use one of his discard outlets to make us each lose 6 life. Kind of crazy.
Yeah, and usually, you'd think, okay, you're discarding, like, there is some looting and stuff in blue, but like if you're just like discarding your hand, like you can't keep doing that. But it replaces itself with the card draw. Once you get multiples of Monument of Endurance, it gets kind of crazy because you discard 1 card to draw 2. You go up 1. You can use the other card to make the treasure tokens or make your opponents lose a bunch of life. It was going crazy.
I really love to see, Jesse, that you have the if anyone's played Magic for a really long time, they've probably seen the Masticore creatures, which all involve discarding a card as part of their cost. And it's just really cool to actually see those because like they don't typically like see a lot of play because they're just not usually worth playing. But I saw you've got at least 2 of those in here, and they're really cool.
One thing that I like about this deck, Jesse, is you can play. I kind of like the Foretell cards and the other plot cards that are ways to get cards out of your hand without actually losing the card advantage. So, because you want to try and enable your commander's ability, right, when you have no cards in hand. Or not just your commander, but your commander and the Oath card earlier. There's some other cards that... There was like a artifact in here where like if you draw cards while you have no cards in your hand, you draw twice as many cards. You can enable that by playing, like I said, like plot cards or other cards that exile from your hand to be able to play later. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, outside of the things we mentioned so far, Jesse, what are your favorite cards in this deck? Like, what are some things you want to tell the audience about?
One of my favorite cards is its Snaring Bridge. It's very easy to manipulate in this deck.
You found the perfect... Like, it's a good card in a lot of decks, but this is actually, like, just nobody can attack when you have this out. You actually kind of use that to dominate that game I was talking about earlier, because I don't think anybody could attack for, like, the second half. As soon as you had that out, like, it was just... I was playing my mono-red Tyrox deck, which pretty much wins by attacking, and I had to, like, figure out a way to kill you with non-combat damage. I think I did, like, a fling at you at the end.
Yeah, and each... And it's interesting, like you said, it's easy to manipulate, so your deck can feasibly even draw up to enough cards to attack with your commander on your turn and then discard them during other people's turns. Jesse. Yeah, I like it.
Another card I'm very fond of is Gearfree Orrery. It's a 4-mana artifact, colorless. Each player may play additional land each turn, which is a form of ramp for the deck.
Yep.
At the beginning of each player's upkeep, if they have no cards in hand, you draw 3 cards, aka you can just reel your hand, pretty much.
And it's so cool, too, because, like, the playing additional lands from your hand, like, that's another way to get cards out of your hand. Yeah. So, like, it works with everything really well, also doing just, like, a good thing.
And as long as your opponents are being relatively chill and not, like, playing a deck with average CMC 1.3, they shouldn't be emptying their entire hand out every turn, right?
Yeah, I wonder, you've played this deck a decent amount of times, Jesse. How many times have you ever seen an opponent draw the 3 cards?
Very little.
Yeah, probably hardly happens.
Yeah. But you can set yourself up for it, which is cool.
Jesse, I didn't trade you that foil Gearfree Orrery, did I? That you have right there? Because
no,
I used to have one of those, and I was just like, that'd be freaking crazy if I traded that to... And then, like, years later, like, he made this abomination of a deck. No, I love this deck, Jesse.
Another example of a jank card here, Null Brooch.
My favorites.
4-mana artifact with the ability 2 mana and tap it. Discard your hand. Counter target non-creature spell.
Normally downside of most. It's a big downside of most decks.
Yeah, there's no other Null Brooch. Like, it's the one card that does that thing. And it does it perfectly well for and you're like, well, why would you play that in the blue deck? You've got counters. It's a repeatable counterspell that in this deck really doesn't do anything.
And you know what? You don't want to have counterspells in your hand because you don't want to have a hand.
Yeah, I love the Foretell cards, Jesse. I love all the things that like that replicate Imarith's ability to get your hand back up.
Yeah, just a couple cards randomly here. Like Drake Haven is a way to actually kill people by discarding cards. Like we were saying earlier, there's a couple creatures that there's a creature that gets a counter whenever you draw a card, stuff like that.
There's a bunch of creatures that you can pay discard cards to make them blockable in the deck too.
Yeah.
And what I appreciate about you, Jesse, so like Spencer alluded to saying with the Girapur Ori, if people had like an average CMC of like 1.5, like they could dump their hands out pretty. You could have done that. You did not do that. You wanted to actually play the discard your like card things rather than just being like, oh, I'm going to play all the fast mana. I could just play Lion's Eye Diamond. That's a discard card. Would you actually, Jesse, would you play Lion's Eye Diamond if you had one in this deck?
It wouldn't fit the power level or the brackets.
Sure, yeah. It feels kind of like...
This is a good man.
Good. Jesse is we've talked about in the past, Jesse is a trusted actor. He can be trusted with a powerful card, and he wouldn't do that.
And I suppose you also didn't play, or are you playing, I didn't see it in here, the creature that's a Lion's Eye Diamond.
Oh, is that
discard your hand?
I don't think so, right?
I don't play it. Summoning Sickness is kind of a draw.
It's not a good card.
Not great.
It's just like a bad card. It's kind of a jank card, but
it's not bad enough to run this deck.
There is a Masticore though. I think that's interesting.
The Masticores.
That goes kind of hard. But anyway,
were there any other features of this deck you want to talk about, Jesse?
Yes, the deck does run some counter spells.
Yep.
It runs a foil.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. That's synergy. Discard your islands.
Oh yeah,
that works.
Nice. And there's a forbid too.
Forbid, that's a really good one because the buyback cost is discard 2 cards, right?
Yep.
That's awesome.
That's awesome, yeah. I like that.
And one of the core cards, this is like one of my more favorite blue cards, Glimpse of Freedom. It's a 2-mana instant, blue and a colorless.
Yep.
Draw a card and has escape free by exiling 5 other cards.
Oh yeah, Jesse, you play that card a lot actually. Now that you mention it, you love your escape cards.
Oh yeah, so when you're discarding your cards, you can use the escape as kind of fuel for that, so you kind of get a repeatable 3-mana draw card.
Yeah, that's cool.
You're never going to run out of, or hypothetically, you're not going to run out of cards.
It's a super Think Twice, basically.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Think Twice cards.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, actually, that actually kind of really fits in this deck because, like, what's the doomsday scenario for a deck like this? It's like you get your commander killed, you get board wiped or something. You have nothing. You got no cards in hand, right? Well, now you have a card in your graveyard that can draw you a card and you can keep using it. So it's like not just... It's like... I mean, Eli, you're a fan of a deep analysis, right? We stand a deep analysis.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a deep analysis, except you can use it like multiple times. Maybe a little more mana, but you can keep using it if you have enough cards to discard. So I think that's pretty cool.
Jesse, I'm seeing in your deck list here, you got from Tarkir, you get Roiling Dragonstorm. That's like a perfect card for this deck, right? 2-mana enchantment. When it enters, draw 2 cards and discard a card. But when a dragon you control enters, return this enchantment to its owner's hand.
Gee,
imagine that you have a discard deck and it's also a dragon commander.
Gee, I wonder if I have a dragon commander.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Also, a interesting card, Inspired Idea. It's got a cleave mechanic. We won't care about that because it's 3 mana, draw 3 cards. Your maximum hand size is reduced by 3 for the rest of the game.
Doesn't matter. We don't have a hand.
Yeah, you could pay 5 mana to cleave that part off of the effect, but you want that part of the effect. You want to reduce your maximum hand size, Jesse.
Jesse, aside from the general theme, what would you say is the jankiest part of this deck?
The fact it takes a blue idea of drawing cards in the traditional manner by discard. When you normally draw cards, you just play spells. Like, this just draws a card, whatnot. And just draws. This deck is just taking the opposite idea.
Yeah, it's kind of flipping the color pie on its head a little bit, like what the things do. I was a big fan, and this is why I think I like a lot of the color-shifted cards in Planar Chaos. When I was a kid, I played Pokemon. Well, I don't really play Pokemon. You just buy Pokemon cards when you're a child. And there was this set called, I think it was EX Delta Species, where they would have like a Pikachu, but it was like fighting type, and I thought that was a really novel concept and a cool idea. So I feel like you're like an EX Delta Species Magic player, Jesse.
Hell yeah!
And one of the cards that emphasizes this point is the card Bounce of Power. Well, not 5-mana sorcery for double blue and free colorless.
Yep,
it's a sorcery. If you have fewer cards in hand than your opponent does, draw until you have the same. In this deck, you can just start your hand 2-0.
Oh, that's good shit.
Yeah, no, I like that. Like, usually, Eli, you and I have played a what is the Sphinx called? The artifact creature that draws the difference. Whatever, the Sphinx guy. You guys know the Sphinx.
Yeah, the Commander Precon Classic that I think originally came in like the mono white Planeswalker Precon. Because they're like, how are you going to draw cards? We got to make a new artifact creature that draws you cards.
That card goes pretty hard if you have like a discard outlet. You could be like, play the Sphinx before it resolves, discard your whole hand, and you can draw 7 new cards, right? Because like you could discard everything that's not good, right? Like Jesse, maybe you would keep 1 card if it was something you really wanted, and then draw a whole bunch.
Guy, yeah, whatever its name is.
Whatever its name.
I love it so much.
I love it so much I can't even remember its name. But yeah, why don't we? Do you want to, Jesse? Do you have anything else you want to talk about for this deck, or do you want to move on and maybe explain some of the other jank stuff you got?
Perhaps another sampling for us, Jesse.
We may move on to the next course.
Jesse, can we do like the John Wick scene where he's like getting his he's getting his weapons and they're like a fine sampling of a Benelli shotgun.
Now I know you were thinking of a different John Wick scene, Jesse. I know where your mind goes, but
Nani?
Yeah, so up next, this is actually a pretty recent deck, right? You made this within the last couple of months, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah, why don't you tell us about this guy, or this creature, whatever this thing is. It's from Doctor Who, so... Sontaran, is that how you say this? Strax, Sontaran Nurse?
Yes, Strax, yes. Strax. my man Strax.
My main man Strax.
Alright, so we have Strax Jagorian Norse. He is a Gruul commander that costs 5. He costs Gruul, which is a red, a green, and free colorless.
Yep.
He's a legendary creature, alien cleric. But he's the least clericist guy you ever will see.
He does not look like a cleric. He does look like an alien, though.
It is holding a shovel, so unless it's a cleric in the way of like, oh, I'm going to use this to bury the dead people, I don't really... I guess I don't watch Doctor Who, so maybe it's a surgical tool.
He does have a suit on.
So yeah, it's 3 and a Gruul, 5/5 legendary creature, alien cleric.
And what he does, Jesse...
Grenades! You pay 2. Second artifact, you choose a player at random. Yourself, perhaps.
Yeah.
When you do, you fight another creature that player controls. And he has the glory of battle. When he deals combat damage to creature, put a 1 counter on Strax when not.
So normally you would read that commander, you'd be like, okay, choose a player at random, right, to fight one of their creatures. That's not very consistent, right? What if I choose myself? I have to kill one of my creatures. That sucks. But Jesse, you got other plans for that, don't you?
Yes, because the main core of the deck's plan is Stuffy Doll.
Stuffy Doll. Which a lot of people have built Stuffy Doll decks, right, Jesse? But usually they're like, oh, I'm going to play Stuffy Doll and like a Blasphemous Act as my main game plan or something. Or I'm going to, whatever, do a Brash Taunter and like fight my huge creature. But you're going one step further than that. You're like, my commander is going to 1/4 of the time hit my creatures.
Yeah, and it's really scary because either it hits your own Stuffy Doll, right, Jesse, or something that you want to have die.
Yep.
Or it kills an opponent's creature some of the time. And it's got Vigilance and Trample, so you like attack somebody, go to tap the Strax, it fights something, gets bigger, and then it's coming at you as a large creature.
Yes.
At least a 6/6 at that point if it survives the fight with Trample. And it's just really, it's hard to block, it's hard to deal with.
And the thing I like about this deck is that I'm a known Duretti Scrap Savant player back in the day. And this kind of reminds me of some of the things I would do in my old Duretti deck. And now there's a lot more effects like this now, but the kind of like Mycosynth Wellspring kind of cards where like artifacts that have an effect when they enter and when they die because your commander makes you have to sacrifice them. So I've always been kind of a fan of those. They just kind of feel good to play. So I like that aspect of it.
Yeah, it's because I run a lot of cards like the Experimental Synthesizer, 1-mana artifact that lets you impulse draw a card when they play it, or it leaves.
Exactly.
Or the monkey.
The monkey,
Clockwork Percussionist, which is a 1-time effect.
Yep. Or Nimble Right Schematic, which makes a 1/1 token when it's put into the battlefield or the graveyard.
One of my favorite artifacts you have in here, Jesse, is this is just a good card, but when you have a sack outlet for artifacts on your commander, it becomes kind of like a crazy card. Coveted Jewel, because you can draw 3 cards when it enters, tap it for 3 mana, and then if somebody's going to attack you and you don't have blocks, you can just sacrifice this so they don't get to take it.
Yeah, I'm always scared of playing a Coveted Jewel because of my opponent's ability to get it.
Yeah, so what else? So we got the Stuffy Doll thing going on here, Jesse. Is there anything else that really makes this stand out as a jank deck?
Well, yes. It's an odd theme for a Gruul deck.
It is an odd theme,
Cantrip artifacts.
Yeah, artifacts in Gruul, outside of I guess this commander, and then you have in the deck, you have Myria, a Scholar of Antiquity, which is a 3-mana Gruul legendary creature that you can tap an untapped non-token artifact you control to get a green mana, or you can tap 2 untapped non-token artifacts you control to impulse draw a card. There's not really Gruul artifact commanders. I guess you could do some like partner combination maybe, or you could just use a generic like good Gruul commander like
Ruthar.
Yeah, Ruthar is good. Yeah, you got like that what is it, that monkey from a precon, but that's not really, that's a specific kind of artifact, right? Like that's
Kyobo and nuts, yeah.
Yeah. But the thing that I think is kind of interesting about this deck and makes it jank, Jesse, is normally you think of a green, Gruul deck, right? You're getting a lot of card draw through playing creatures, right? You're playing like your Beast Whisperer type effects to draw a bunch of cards, or other,
the great henge, perhaps,
stuff like that, or things that
hint.
draw cards equal to like your creature's power, right? Which you could do if you want to, Jesse. But from what I'm looking at, most of the card advantage of this deck is, I mean, you got a couple like looting effects and stuff like that. But I like, you've got cool ways to like rebuy your artifacts, like Creeping Renaissance,
very good
as
card.
like a way to facilitate you playing cards. Less like direct card draw, more like we were saying,
resource management.
Yeah, like the artifacts, like little artifacts that'll come in and draw a card, or when they enter or die or something. And you can get them back later and play them again. So I think that's pretty unique for a Gruul deck to play, kind of like a not eggs, but eggs-ish. I like that. It's pretty cool.
And I thought I was making a unique Gruul deck with my Gruul Spellslinger deck, and then Jesse's like, "Oh, hold my beer! I'll make the Gruul Eggs deck, the artifact deck." You trying to make me look like a fool, Jesse?
No, I mean that's no.
No.
Spellslinger's still
okay.
cool.
Good answer. Otherwise, the audience would have been sicked on you because I'm kind of a favorite around here, Jesse. So better watch out.
I do. I always watch out.
Yeah, but the thing that's also scary about the commander, we were talking about it earlier, that it like randomly chooses someone and then fights a creature. If I'm not incorrect here, my understanding is that you can respond to the ability, but not before you know whose creature it's going to fight.
Yep, it's
correct.
It kind of goes along with like the one good thing you could say about Boom Pile, where like it's just really hard to respond to that sort of thing.
Yeah, because like what are you gonna? I mean, you can kill it in response, but it might. I mean, it only has a 25% chance of hitting you. It could hit your opponent's creatures, right? Like you can't give a creature indestructible in response because you don't know what it's gonna fight until it actually happens. It's weird.
Yeah, so if you've got the Stuffy Doll, there's kind of like possibly, assuming you're not getting attacked for more damage because of this, like there's like a 50% chance that it's like a good thing that it happens if it's not, or like maybe you've got a creature that's too big, or you have like no creatures in play. Like there's a lot of the time you probably wouldn't want to interact with that, right, Jesse? So like it's very like, I don't feel like out of the games we played, like I ever really felt the need, except for there was one where I think you had me to like over 12 commander damage, and I was like, I don't know if I can do anything about that. Most of the time I'm not thinking like that thing needs to die.
Yeah, and it's got vigilance and trample too, so you can hold it up until the end step before your turn, and then you can maybe do it again on your turn after attacking. So that's pretty cool. Jesse, what else you got about this deck? Any jank stuff you want to call out?
There's some outliners like Gerard's Hourglass Pentagon.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Hourglass Pendant.
Yeah, it's mostly there just to stop extra turns, which shouldn't happen
Good
in
man.
bracket 2 and not. But I mostly like the second effect where you can just bring your stuff back, which is extra utility.
Now, one thing you may or may not know about Jesse is an anti-meta player. He's gonna have your graveyard hate on fucking. He's gonna have it, okay? And then Like you said, he's going to be like, no extra turns for you. I got my anti-extra turn spell. Just he's going to have his Grafdigger Cage,
I love this card a lot, Jesse, because it's it like does a useful thing while also being like a surprisingly rare like anti-extra turn card, because like you just don't see a lot of those. There's like Stranglehold. It's maybe like Trouble in Pairs. There's really not that many cards that specifically, because hopefully extra turns are a relatively rare and unique thing in your Commander games, but this also just like being able to return all your artifacts, creatures, enchantments, and lands from your graveyard. I think I need to play this card, Jesse. It's pretty cool.
Jesse, I see this card here, the Gold Saucer. This seems kind of sick. That's a new Final Fantasy card.
Yeah, it's very similar to Phyrexian Core, where you can pay one, tap it to sack an artifact to gain a life. It's kind of a backup one.
It's pretty cool.
And one land I've been a big fan of for like just anything that's like saga related or artifact related, or just legendary, Astargo Entertainment.
What does that one do?
It's colorless legendary land.
Yeah.
The taps for diamonds, and you can pay one to filter mana, and you can pay 3 to exile to return up to 1 historic card from your graveyard and put it to your hand.
So you said you like those with the sagas and stuff, right?
Yes.
But that's not all. It also exiles all the graveyards after it does it. I think Jesse did that.
Oh, of course it does.
Game. And it's crazy. Yeah.
Honestly, is that a card you think you would play over? What was the
Scavenger Grounds?
Yes, would you play that over like a Scavenger Grounds? I think you.
Oh yeah, Jesse, because you're a Scavenger Grounds enjoyer. Has this hedged it out, or you just play both of them now?
I just play this one.
Yeah,
this one's awesome.
Because like you could let your commander die and then get it back, right?
Correct.
And you wouldn't pay commander tax?
Because it is historic permanent, because it's legendary.
It's legendary, yes. So that's pretty cool.
And like I run like 2 tutors when not. And then
shared summons and the Gruul
Signal the Clans.
Yeah, that one.
Oh no, yeah, I like.
There's more. There's a couple more tutors. There's the Goblin Matron. The Goblin that gets any Goblin, which gets Breast Haunter.
Nice. Yeah, Jesse, I've talked about recently. I mean, we have not in a video that's going to be out for a little bit, but I talked about how I love Goblin Matron. Like, just you have your little Goblin package. Although I guess for you it's.
He does have a Goblin.
I do have a Goblin package.
All your or a lot of your sacrifice outlets for artifacts
are Goblins.
Slow Bad. You've got Croxida Daredevil.
Krark Clan Grunt.
Yeah, you've got multiple goblins that sacrifice. So he's got the whole Goblin package.
I would recommend if you guys are looking for like a cool little package to put in a deck, throw a Goblin package in there with the Goblin Matron. It goes pretty hard.
There's like some artifact lands in there, but that's like emergency sack fodder.
Yeah, if you have to sack something to get it off.
I like Signal the Clans in a deck where you have 3 different creatures that are pretty much the same thing in the case of your Brash Taunter and Stuffy Doll. That's pretty cool.
And there's some 2 other porn tutors. They're just land tutors, Expedition Map and World Map.
Yeah.
Which are they're effectively just there to get any utility land you need.
It lets Jesse get his graveyard hate if he doesn't draw one of his 5 artifacts that do it. Or I guess I could say you can get the one, like the core or whatever, right? To sack an artifact or something.
Yeah, Jesse, looking at this deck list, it's actually, it might be one of your more conservative on Grave Hate decks, because I only see about like 4 or 5 so far, I think. You're slipping.
You're going to watch out, Jesse.
I want you to play the game somewhat.
Thank you, Jesse. I appreciate that.
That's a lie. Don't believe he doesn't mean that.
He's a Venus flytrap. He's trying to lure you in and then exile your graveyard.
Dude, Jesse does this thing with anytime we bring like a friend that hasn't played with him before, or if they're like a new Commander player, they're just new to the group. We bring them to see Jesse, and we've talked about Jesse as this scourge of paradox, and they sit down and they play with him, and Jesse, he's just such a sweetheart to them. He's like, "Oh, I'm a nice guy. Like, I'll leave you alone. I won't do anything to you," and he makes them think that we're crazy. And then after like 5 or 10 games or so, that's when he turns.
Exactly.
Everybody gets a free trial.
All right, Jesse, do you have anything else you want to talk about for this guy, or should we move on to our third jank deck to get some stuff in?
Well, there's only one thing last to note, that we have a typical damage-based board rights, Blasphemous Act, Chain Reaction, and Starve Extinction, which are massive board to do massive damage.
Gotta have them. And you got, I think, what else? You got like a damage doubler in there too, right? You got the dragon, whatever his name is.
That's just a stuffy doll effect.
Oh, sorry. In my mind, it's a damage doubler, but it's not. See, I don't know what cards do.
It deals double its normal damage output when Spencer's in the game.
Yeah. It just, whenever it's there, it's like, I'm just gonna die.
And this deck has one of my favorite little pet cards, Spare Supplies. When a 2-mana colorless artifact enters, you draw a card. When enters tapped. When and you can pay 2 to sack draw. It's a fancy clue.
Hell yeah!
Nice. It's a super clue. Yeah, I like that.
And that's all for this deck.
Nice.
Yeah, Jesse, did you have any other jank decks that you wanted to touch on?
Well, yes, we can cover one more.
One more jank deck here.
All right. So the next up on for the last course will be Dalakos, Corrector of Wonders, and he is a red, blue, and a colorless for legendary creature Merfolk Artificer. He taps for 2 colorless. This is Power Stone mana, basically. It can only be used for artifacts.
Yep.
And equipped creatures have haste and flying. He's a 2/4.
So you would think that, like, oh, this is my, like, artifact tribal deck, whatever, right, Jesse? What are you doing with Dalakos?
What I'm doing with Dalakos is I'm taking the Mirrodin, originally from a mechanic from Mirrodin, whatnot, called Living Weapons, whatnot, where you make commanders and you make a little 0/0 germ attached to it.
Yep, and then they've done that as well in new job select cards, right? From the new Final Fantasy set.
Yeah, they got job select, and then between those two, they had the 4 Mirrodin mechanic. You got a few of those in there too, right?
Yes.
I love this deck, Jesse. I love Living Weapon, and this is such a... I mean, I'm sure the people have Living Weapon decks.
Yeah,
I've seen a couple, but like this is a... With Dalakos, like I've never because he gives flying and haste.
Yeah,
correct.
Great abilities to have on all your living weapons. Arguably 2 of the better keywords in all of Commander for your creatures.
and also, I mean, I don't think you're like a 3-mana commander that taps for 2 mana is I mean, besides new commander design where they have weird ways to tap for 1,000,000 mana, that's kind of unheard of. I feel
it's good, right? Like it's more than you would expect.
Like, I would personally play, like, a Dalakos commander deck where I'm just, like, playing mana rocks. That would be crazy, right?
Yeah, I feel like they could have just made him cost that and not had him tap for mana, and, like, your quick creatures have flying and haste, and, like, people would play. Like, that'd be okay.
That would be okay, yeah.
But this guy, you can play him and then immediately the next turn play, like, a really big living weapon, or you could play, like, 2 medium-sized ones.
Yeah.
Super easily. You could even miss a land drop and still do that. That's how good it is. That's a really cool deck, Jesse. I've only played against it once so far because it's super new, but I'm looking forward to seeing it more. What are some of your favorite cards from this?
Well, this is normally like a more high power card.
Yeah.
Joyra, Ageless Innovator.
Yeah.
Human Artificer, you tap it to put 2 counters on it, you can use that. So basically, it's like that one card from Modern, whatnot, where you could just tap the card and you put the card equal to the mana cost, whatnot, on the battlefield.
Kind of like
whatever.
God, yeah, what
the dude, you're testing my knowledge. Aether Vial, yes.
It's like an Aether Vial, but this one could do less, whatnot, less than Aether Vial.
Okay, so
you
like
tap,
extra less.
Yeah, extra less. So you tap it once, you get 2. The next one is 4, whatnot. It's
and like doubles. It like goes 2, 4, 6.
Yeah.
Oh, it seems good.
Yeah. So essentially, this lets you how long you have the card on the board, the more it make more mana you can. You can pretty
much yeah. So it lets you put into play your living weapon cards or other stuff just for free, essentially.
I like that, Jesse. When I saw the Joyra in the deck list, I was like, Jesse's going to talk about Joyra Weatherlight Captain. I draw a card when I play.
No.
Jesse. He wouldn't do that. He's got a cooler Joyra.
Yeah, this is pretty sick.
And there's really cool cards like originally from a Mirrodin set. The Volkshock Battlemaster.
I love that card. I had that in my first ever commander deck, Jorkadine. It's a 5-mana 2/2 with haste, and when it enters, you attach all equipments in play, not just yours, all of them. You attach all the equipments to it. So it steals everything.
All your swords belong to us.
And then you can just swing into somebody for a ton of damage. It's a really cool card. That's another kind of because there are similar cards to that, but there's not really, I don't think, a better Volshock Battlemaster in Commander.
No. Oh, personal favorite card of mine, Jesse, you got here, Shimmer Dragon.
Yep.
Lets you tap 2 artifacts to draw a card. Goes great with equipment because them being untapped usually does not matter. Pretty cool. So you can a good way to turn your equipment into cards.
And there's also a card that's similar to that. The Whirler Rogue. A card that...
Yeah.
Whirler Rogue.
Yeah, that's a good one. Does that like make stuff unblockable, right? That's what it does when you tap your guys?
It's a 4 mana. It's 4 mana, 2 blue, 2 colorless for a creature, human, rogue, artificer. It enters with 2 Thopters.
Yep.
And you can tap 2 artifacts. Untap artifacts you control to make a creature unblockable. So it's a backup of the commander.
In the hands of a Jesse, too scary.
Jesse, do not test me. I have played a Whirler Rogue in my day. Also something that I did not really realize until now. I like the... So you have a bunch of living weapon creatures, right? And
correct.
A lot of them are relatively... I mean, there's a lot of living weapon cards that are like equipped for 2 or 3 or something, right? Like they're pretty low mana cost to equip. Let's say your commander gets killed. You can play your commander, maybe spend 2 mana to equip a artifact or equipment you have to it, and then it has haste, and you can tap it immediately because it gives itself haste if it's equipped.
Yep.
Yeah, based. Haste is based, as we say.
And we have a really cool card from the new Final Fantasy set. This is not a shell. This is just a card I like. It says Friton, Wild Rose Warrior. Is a red creature. It costs a red and 2. Well, not legendary creature. Duh. Human Rebel Warrior. Equip creatures have haste, so it's sort of a similar thing to the commander, but one a non-token equipment enters the battlefield. You make a copy of it, and its abilities are reduced by 2 until the next step.
It just copies your equipment?
Yes.
The fuck?
I don't know. What the hell?
So you can copy your living weapons, and they'll have haste, and you can hit somebody.
Hopefully. Wait, it copies your equipment, and they cost less. So it gets rid of them at the next end step. You sack them at the end turn.
Yeah.
But you get you play a sword.
Love this.
So you play like a sword, a feast and famine or something. You get a second sword. Yeah, you play like a second sword, or it gets a copy of it, and it only costs it costs 1 or it costs 0 instead of 2.
This thing is crazy, Jesse.
It is. It is.
And you're playing it in the fair deck, Jesse. Also, it is pretty cool because you don't even care about the equip cost sometimes. You just I play my job select card and and I attack with it. See, this is what Jesse does. Is he plays broken cards in a lawful good way. You know what I'm saying? He's like, I'm using this for the other purpose.
Oh yeah.
One card I think is really cool in this deck, Jesse, just because I always want to find excuses to play these, is the new siege cards from the new Tarkir Dragonstorm. You got the Front Cliff Siege. Just a better haste. Creatures you control get +1/+0, have haste and trample. That's like the best 3 mana haste card ever, right?
It is.
Goes so crazy.
Or it's card draw on the other part.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's just everything.
Yeah, and when your equipment have flying and haste, you get some cards.
the only card that's similar to it's like the one from Lord of the Rings, whatnot.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like your creatures have haste and your legendary creatures get
Oh yeah,
+1/+.
Rising of the Day. Yeah.
That's the only thing that's close to it.
But this one's also card draw if you want it.
Yeah,
so.
no, if I'm an Izzet, I think I want that one every time.
Yeah.
Siege.
Good deck for it though. Good deck for it.
Then we have the classic Kazul's Toe Collector.
Jesse, you're just playing all the cards that I used to play in Jorkadine. Yeah, Kazul's Toll Collector's awesome. It's a 3 mana 3/2. You can pay 0 and attach an equipment to it. Only as a sorcery though, right, Jesse?
Correct, yes. But a lot of these things have 4 and 5 and whatnot for the
Oh yeah,
quest.
I think if my memory serves me, the drawback of living weapons were typically that their equip cost was a little overcosted sometimes. You say that's accurate, Jesse?
It is pretty accurate.
Yeah.
So if you get board wiped or something and you have all your living weapons in play, you can play your command, maybe you have enough mana to play your commander back again and the Kazul's Toll Collector. You put all the equipment on them for free and it has haste and you hit someone and they take like 15, 20 damage. You go kind of hard.
And we have some interesting creatures, like the Reality Ship, whatnot.
Oh yeah, the Reality Chip. That's another broken card, Jesse, that I think you're using in pretty reasonable ways here.
Not trying to infinite combo with it.
I think people kind of know. We know it lets you play the top card of your library if it's equipped, right?
Correct.
So, Jesse, you spitting some pretty... I mean, you got the...
Spitting some game right now.
You got the Toll Collector, you got the Volshock Battlemaster. What's the rest? What are some other jank cards in here, Jesse? Why don't you tell us about the jank?
The Jank cards. Let's see.
Boop, 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 boop.
Oh, we have so whatnot. What do you do when your creatures are destroyed? When you have most equipment?
You lose.
I ask myself that every game, Jesse.
Well, it's a good thing we have the Wandering Fumarole.
Wandering Fumarole. That's Oath of the Gatewatch. The manland.
The manland?
Cycle.
Hell yeah.
That's the Is It Manland. It's a good one too because it has like the 0. You can like swap its power and toughness, right? It's either a 1/4 or a 4/1.
Correct.
I guess if any Is It deck would actually want to play that card, I guess an equipment deck would be the one.
It's pretty good. I mean, like you said about the Toll Collector, like you have that, or you have your commander, like you can maybe make some moves happen.
And I see, Jesse, you also got the Fairy Conclave as another man land to have in there.
Yes, it's pretty good. It's pretty efficient too.
Yep.
Oh yes, we have one of the Jesse specials, the Eye of Vecna.
That is a Jesse special.
It's a 2-mana artifact. When it enters, you draw a card and
lose 2 life.
Lose 2 life, and you can do the same thing at your upkeep for paying 2. It's Phyrexian Rena as a colorless artifact.
And that's nice too, right? Because your commander, can he just tap for mana for equipments, or can you
all artifacts or abilities? So you can do it for the ability too.
That's awesome.
Because like at the beginning, you got to pay 2 mana to do it. You get your upkeep, so your commander can tap for it. I like it.
And we're running a lot of modern day classic stuff like Cryptic Coat and the Corey Steel Cutter of the Destroyer of Modern.
You're using broken modern cards for good. I think in the same way in your mono blue discard deck, Jesse, you had the what's the connive guy.
Yes,
the creature that whenever a player casts their second spell each turn, you get to draw and discard whatever that bird is, and that was a very strong modern card that you're using for good. I appreciate that.
And we have some board protection, Harko's Recall, which is very fantastic, and it's Antiquities.
Hurkyl's Recall as board protection. That's kind of jank, right? Like that's not like a jank card, but that's like a jank mindset. Yeah, finding the less broken but like still useful thing to do with that card.
I feel like the first thing you think about for Hurkyl's Recall is like someone is comboing off, right? Like we're bouncing all their mana positive rocks to their hand and playing them again and drawing with a Joyride or something, right?
You're like, I'm going to save all of my living weapons back to my hand.
Or I can bounce someone's stupid shreds away.
You can hit their shredders, true. Double duty.
That's nice, actually. You could use it to mess with your opponents and also as
hell yeah,
double duty.
And we have the slightly worse Rebuild. Well, it could be cycle.
Oh yeah, Rebuild. That's a good one. That's that with the cycling, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we have some traditional Thirst for Knowledge because we're a heavy artifact deck here. So
I've always been kind of a Thirst for Knowledge enjoyer.
And we have a new card, to show off. Edgar, King of Fergo. When it enters, you draw cards for each artifact you control. And the Rex is a 4/5. The rest of the text doesn't matter because we don't do coin flipping here.
Wait, no dirty coin flippers.
Very cool. Well, Jesse, is there anything else you wanted to talk about on this deck, or should we move on?
Oh, it does have one basic interaction piece. The Liquid Metal Torp, which is also a mana rock, but also turns the red artifact removal into kill spells.
It gives you some Is It enchantment removal.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Nice.
Like we have another form of protection. We have is Untimely Malfunction. A very good card.
That is a good card. I need to pick up some because it's like a kind of a deflecting SWAT or an artifact destruction, right?
It also can stop it. It also can tap down stuff, which is relevant.
Does so many things.
It's basically a charm.
Yeah. Charms are underrated. I think charms are cool, even if sometimes they're kind of bad. But they're always interesting. They're
Jesse's a big charm enjoyer.
I do. I am.
You ever play like a Selesnya charm or like a Simic charm or something, Jesse? Is it charm maybe?
I should.
I feel like you're a Gruul charm guy, Jesse.
Gruul charm is that one makes you can't gain life? Is that right?
It deals 3 damage to each creature with flying.
Okay.
Or it makes each player gain control of permanents they own, or it makes it so creatures without flying can't block that turn.
All right. Forgive me for thinking it was a skull crack.
Oh yeah, forgive you for thinking it did good things. It's a weird card. It's the weirdest charm.
So I have last 2 more things to point out before we can move on to the next topic. Patriarch's Seal. It's a mana rock that taps for 1 color of any color, but you can untap target legendary, which the deck has Joyra and
Your commander taps for 2.
Yes.
That's a good one. But yeah, a couple like that red guy we were talking about.
Pseudo-vigilance also creation.
Yeah. Oh yeah, when you have commanders with legendary creatures with tap abilities, like obviously that's better. It's nice.
I love that card. That's one of the best cards in my Bruce and Elena deck because she taps for 1 million.
See, Jesse doing it fairly.
Ah, yes, there you go. The Moon Snare Prototype. This is a card I've been recently playing. I've been enjoying a lot.
What is it? This guy? Oh, it's the
Moon Snare Prototype.
The channel guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you can. It's like what's the equipment, Eli, where you can like tap you can tap the creature to give it to make a mana. 1 mana equipment.
Oh yeah, no, the Springleaf Drum.
It's kind of like a Springleaf Drum, obviously.
Yeah, no, I've seen you play this now that you mention it.
And it's gonna. What's the channel ability do? Is it like protect? Is it like protect a creature?
It's a bounce.
It's a bounce spell.
It's a bounce spell, but it's a bounce spell effectively. Let's read it. Channel 5, blue and 4. Discard Moonfight Prototype. The owner of target non-land basic. Let's see. The owner of target non-land permanent is put on the top or bottom of the library.
Top or bottom of the library? It bounces.
Reading is hard.
It bounces to the top or bottom of the library?
Yes.
Based.
When you start, I was like, it bounces the hand. That's actually
not bad.
That's not bad. I kind of like that. That's unique.
I've been trying.
That's jank, Jesse.
Yes, I've been trying to find because this is the problem. I like running ramp when not, but the problem with I have with ramp with late game is the dead cards. So I want to have less dead cards.
You want to have when you draw it, you can actually kill something or whatever.
Yes,
that's
correct.
Awesome.
Yeah, I like that.
That is all but not for this deck, and the course of jank is done.
So before we move on to our last little segment here, I just want to ask Jesse a couple questions in general about why he plays jank. Jesse, how would you say is the reason that you build jank decks?
To build interesting decks that don't use conventional cards.
Okay, so you're really just trying to be a little bit different. I mean, I like doing different things too. Like I don't want to be a guy who's building the same deck as everyone else. I get that, Jesse.
Jesse, I've got another question for you. Who do you think you are?
Me.
Another one. How dare you?
Anyway, okay.
Why do you think that the audience, Jesse, why do you think they should play jank decks? You want to push your ideology?
To less rely on staples like Ristic Studies, whatnot. And just to build more interesting deck on lower budgets, whatnot.
Yeah, jank decks can often be cheaper. I could see that. So you think it's like a mental experiment. It's gonna open your mind up to the possibilities. It's like a psychedelic experience.
Sorry, Jesse. I had to hold your feet to the fire a little bit because it's kind of like we got Vladimir Putin on here, and if we throw him too many softballs, the rest of the internet's gonna kind of hold us to task for that. So
good.
How do you answer to the genocide of dogs that go to your house, Jesse? They come in and they never come out. How do you answer to that?
Yeah, explain that.
I have no comment.
No comment?
No comment?
No comment.
Yeah.
Okay.
What
That's
a
the figures.
Fucking surprise, yeah. Jesse, what should people kind of try and achieve, or what should they opt for when they're building a jank deck? What should be the
goal, maybe?
Aside from just saving money?
Just building around a silly little pet card that's not really good or powerful, really. Just something they enjoy.
That brings them joy, yeah. That's good commander deck building advice.
So my favorite art of any Magic card is the card Commander's Authority. It is a criminally unplayable Magic card for Commander and every other format. It's really bad. But maybe if I wanted to build a jank deck around my favorite card, that could be a thing I could do.
This isn't necessarily jank or a jank deck, but I have a combo deck that also has as part of it, and it just had this in it since the first version of the deck. It has the card Paradise Mantle, which is 0 mana equipment that can equip for 1 mana, and I combine that with Pure Steel Paladin and a lot of things that recur my creatures, and I also give them haste with anger, and it creates this the whole setup for that bit is this big Rube Goldberg machine. It's kind of a little bit janky when the rest of the deck is just like 2-card combos.
So very nice.
But I choose to leave that in there because that's my flavor of jank.
Hell yeah. All right, well, Jesse, we would like to thank you for coming on and talking to us about jank cards. Will you indulge us, though, in talking with us about the not so recent anymore update to the Commander bracket system that happened, a month ago or so?
You know, Jesse at EDH Takes, we like to get some EDH takes from people, so...
Yes.
Yeah, so as of Tuesday the 22nd of April, there was the first big update and change to the Commander brackets and Game Changers list, and notably, 5 cards were unbanned, which now the system's going to be, if something gets unbanned, it's going to go to the Game Changers list. It's possible maybe that they would alter that in the future, but for now, that's how things are going to work. So the cards that were unbanned were Gifts Ungiven, Sway of the Stars, Braids, Cabal Minion, Coalition Victory, and Panoptic Mirror. Jesse, thoughts?
Are you opposed to any of those?
I am not opposed to any of them. I think they're both. I think Braids is interesting. It's interesting choice, why not? But
yeah. Like what's the
upside? What's the fun that is added to the format with Braids being in play, in the format? I would say I take that stance as well. But I would add Sway the Stars to that, like, heavily. Like, what joy is brought to the format by allowing that card in the game? I guess you could argue, like, that it's like a consistency thing, right? Like, it's not, like, broken or anything, but I don't know. I don't see what good comes out of unbanning it, right?
Well, it's the same people that play Hellfire.
Yeah, it's people that want to play, like, wacky chaos, like super board reset, game reset cards. But
do you guys think that this was number one with this? I think they wanted to get cards off the ban list to make it less girthy, but at the same time, it's kind of like a sort of stress test for the Game Changers list and the bracket system in general, because if people want to play with these cards, it's taking up a Game Changer slot, and it's like, are any of these cards outside of maybe Coalition Victory or Gifts Ungiven really good enough to justify being your one of 3, if you're sticking to bracket 3, one of 3 Game Changers? So
I could see that.
Maybe that's what the thought was, as a little extra. They've got the netting in place for the proverbial circus that is Commander.
Something I thought was interesting was they gave, of course, they had justification for why they unbanned the cards, right? And I believe in the Braids justification, it was unbanned because it's, like, iconic or people really want to play with it, right? Like, that's the thing.
Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah.
And they did really break out the dies to removal argument for the 3 of the 5 cards here, which not too keen on generally, but I guess it's not like an invalid argument. It's just
Braids, it dies to removal. Coalition Victory, if they kill your 5-color creature, it died to removal. Panoptic Mirror. That's one that definitely more than the others. That one I think I kind of buy.
I'll get
I'll give it Panoptic Mirror. Kind of dies to removal.
What does it get? Sway of the Stars was die to counterspell.
Just always have counterspell.
Just always have a counterspell, or otherwise the game is irreparably harmed.
Otherwise, you deserve to lose the game or have bad things happen to you.
I want to say, with Gifts Ungiven, this is one we haven't really talked about at all. Now that we've had some time to think about it, I'm kind of coming around on it. I mean, it's like just one of the better tutors you can play, I suppose. But I think the okay thing about Gifts Ungiven is, unlike some of these other cards, like unlike Braids or unlike Sway of the Stars, I think Gifts Ungiven has a very fine fair. There's a fair Gifts Ungiven you can play in a game and have a good time and not be abusing something. Same with same with Panoptic Mirror. You could put a very normal, fun spell under it, but I don't know. That one's maybe less common.
Yeah. The thing, I think maybe you and I talked about this at one point, Spencer, and I talked to some other people. Panoptic Mirror, if you're putting a fun card underneath it, it's just almost never actually good.
Yeah.
It's not really worth doing with that. And if you're not using it for
evil,
winning the game or playing a board wipe every turn, what's lowest, like the that it can,
like, I
the
feel
impact that it can have for it to be like a fun card and still be good.
It has to be like, I feel like it has to be like I don't know, like one of those 7 or 8 mana spells that just says like you play a card off the top of everyone's deck for free or something like that.
Yeah, something like that, or maybe like a clone a target permanent or some large spell that does some version of that.
Maybe a ritual or something. I don't know.
Maybe you could Sublime Epiphany. Maybe that wouldn't get entirely obnoxious.
Yeah. What would you play with?
Yeah, Jesse, what would you put underneath there?
Boil. You probably
the 7 mana white spell sorcery that puts someone's life to 20.
Okay, every turn put someone's life to 20.
Okay, I like that.
Jesse, you would put like Mulvali, Muvtali, whatever that card is.
Unruly Acid Moss?
Yes. See, I don't know. That's what you would do, Jesse. You'd be like, oh, yes, Sinkhole. And it wouldn't even be very good. Okay, do you guys have anything else to say about these 5 cards that were unbanned?
You know, after the previous ban list update, before this one, they can do something like this, and it's kind of just like, it could be worse.
I think we talked about it in the past quite a bit. We don't care for Coalition Victory, at least Eli and I. Jesse, you don't really mind, or how do you feel about Coalition Victory?
It's kind of sour. It's sour. I don't hate it, but it's kind of a sour card.
Yeah. But you know, it's honestly not that big of a deal that it's back. I probably won't see it very often, so it probably won't affect me personally that much. But you know, so they unbanned 5 cards, right? And then they removed 2 cards from the Game Changers list. They took 2 away, and they added like 20 or something, right?
Yeah, outside of the 5 unbans, they added a lot of cards. What we say, I think we did the math at one point. It was like a total of like 21 or so.
Yeah, they added 18 cards to the list. They took 2 off, and then the 5 unbanned cards also went on. So 21, I think, is the number of new cards, or the net change of cards on the Game Changers list. So they took off Trouble in Pairs and Trinisphere. I think Trinisphere is a pretty fair card to take off. That was the one that I think we weren't really 100% sure as to. Well, I mean, I get it. It's like a stacks card, but
it's only because he played CDH.
It doesn't really affect casual Commander.
Yeah, and like it kind of fits under the category of like mass land denial, kind of. Not really, but I feel like a Trinisphere doesn't ruin a game of Commander.
I don't even think it would be that impactful in bracket 2, bracket 3 Commander.
Like, sure, if your deck has a lot of 1-drops or free spells, sure, fine. But I don't know, like, I think you can play a game with a Trinisphere in play and have it function-ish.
Yeah, I think there's mid to low power Commander games where a Thalia, Guardian of Thraben is more impactful than Trinisphere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Trouble in Pairs is an interesting one because I think when the original list came out, Eli, you especially, me, I think a little bit too, were a little bit critical of. It was like I don't know if this one should be on the list. Maybe it should. Maybe it shouldn't.
It didn't seem like it fit because they were missing some notable cards that fit a common category with Trouble in Pairs and other colors. But and Jesse, I know we got a point of disagreement here. You think that it should have stayed on the list, and while I initially on its own merit, I think I disagree. It's strange to me that they took it off after adding to the Game Changers list those cards, those notable cards that I would compare to it. Yeah, they added Consecrated Sphinx, they added Necropotence.
So those are it's like, if these aren't on there, Trouble in Pairs shouldn't be on there, right? But take Trouble in Pairs off and then add those seems very weird. I don't get it.
If they had been like every
best card draw spell kind of
every
thing.
color had its strongest card draw engine permanent on the Game Changers list, I would have been like, okay, that kind of makes sense. Trouble in Pairs probably is the best white one. I think they took that off.
I think they just had too many people telling them shouldn't be on the list, and maybe they were right, but kind of the hubris in that, I don't know, both these happening.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird.
For the most part, there wasn't a change that was made that I hadn't seen people shouting at Gavin about. So once again, he's done it.
Yeah, but why don't we very quickly go over the Game Changers list? There's 18 of them, the new cards, and maybe say a word or two. I mean, we have to get through this probably pretty quickly, but...
Yeah, number 1, Teferi's Protection.
Maybe this one will have some more discussion.
What do you think about Teferi's Protection, Jesse?
It's definitely a game changer.
Game changer?
Super Fog, whatnot. Super Fog protects your board, whatnot.
I'm going to be real spicy and be totally neutral on this one.
I'm kind of in between on this as well, I would say. So, Jesse, you're full-on game changer. Eli, you're neutral, and I guess I'm kind of neutral too. I don't know. It's obviously like a very powerful card, very iconic card, right? It's at the game changer power level, maybe, but I don't know if I don't know. I guess I'm okay with it being on the list. I think it's fine.
Yeah, it's we were talking about Jank earlier and how you play the Jank cards because they're like pretty much unique. There's no replacement. There's really no replacement for you can play all the best board protection spells in the format. They don't also fog you. Yeah,
Teferi's Protection does the best 3 effects at the same time. Better than the best 3. Protect your life, protect your boards, protect your whatever.
Yeah, so it's a pretty strong card. It doesn't seem like it would do anything that offensive, but it's used for evil probably most of the time.
Maybe you wouldn't want to run into it in bracket 2 games. Maybe I guess you could argue that. Okay, next card on the list is Humility. I think this is probably... I mean, whenever they put, the cringe-ish, big stacks pieces, I'm not really going to argue that they should be in more games. I'm okay with people playing less Humility. I don't mind this one, personally.
Yeah, what do you think, Jesse?
It's a game changer. It belongs in the bracket free jail or not.
Fair enough.
I think back on that game, Jesse, where the 8-mana curse Humility got put on you, and I imagine you do not enjoy little Humility either.
No.
I will say, though, interesting thing about some of these cards like Humility that are going on the Game Changer list. Are there bracket 3 decks that you build to be strong bracket 3 decks where you're yes, Humility is going to be one of my 3 game changers, right? I feel like this putting on the game changers list a lot of times is a kind of like a jail, like you were saying, Jesse, the bracket 3 jail, where I mean, are you playing Humility over Teferi's Protection plus the 2 other best game changers on the list?
No.
So I don't know.
No, you're not.
Unless you're specifically trying to do that one thing, which I guess that's what it should be doing. It should be only in decks that are doing some epic meme with it. Haha. Funny, real funny.
If I remember from the Command Zone episode, this is one of Rachel's most hated cards in Commander, Humility, so she's very happy to see that on there.
I don't think it's adding a lot of fun to a lot of games. Do you think people play it a lot of times just to be haha, I copy it, and now there's layers questions?
Well, it's... A lot of people
don't know how it works.
A lot of people in casual Commander, a lot of bracket 1 and
2, yeah.
They wanted to play creatures.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of ruins some games. Commander feels ultimately like a creature game at the brackets 1 through 3 thing for me. Next card, Narset, Parter of Veils. It's interesting because I think it's fine probably to put on the list. That was people were mentioning, but you almost think that a Narset plus Wheel could be kind of counted like a combo, maybe.
Yeah, I'll probably we'll bundle this in with. They also put on the list Notion Thief and Orcish Bowmasters.
Yeah,
as cards that just combo with wheels and also punish your opponents for drawing cards.
I think it's probably good that these are on the list because it's kind of a combo, but it's not an explicit 2-card wins the game combo. It's just a 2-card misery combo. So.
Yeah,
it can also be a stacks piece in a sense too.
Yeah, it's not fun on its own, and it doesn't get better when you start abusing it.
Yeah, so the theme so far, besides maybe a little bit of ambivalence towards Teferi's Protection, is generally okay with the ones we've been talking about. I think that's going to carry on for a good portion of the list here. So next we talked about them earlier, Consecrated Sphinx and Necropotence. Like we said, weird that they took off Trouble in Pairs and added these 2, but I don't think I mind them being on the list.
Yeah, Necropotence was a big notable exclusion from the first one, so that makes sense here. Consecrated Sphinx, I
A little on the edge.
didn't hate to see it here because I think it's kind of it's incredibly strong. What do you think about Consecrated Sphinx, Jesse? Is that a game changer nowadays? Some people were talking about if it's good enough to be.
I don't know. It's a game changer for bracket 2, but past bracket 3 and above, it's not as powerful.
Sure.
Yeah, bracket 3 is wide enough that there could be bracket 3 games where it's manageable.
Yeah. I think you're right about that, Eli, that I don't know if there was a big community outcry to get Consecrated Sphinx on the list, but I suppose when they're like, okay, well, Necropotence and then Consecrated Sphinx, people probably talked about it a little bit, but I think it's okay to I don't hate it either way.
They're fine additions.
Yeah.
Just put Intuition on the list.
Oh, yeah.
We could kind of group that with a bunch of other ones like Whirly Tutor, Crop
Yeah.
Rotation.
Yeah, Gamble.
They really wanted to make sure
Natural
every
order.
good tutor or
Yeah.
every maybe above just playable tutor
Yeah.
is on this list, in addition to them having mentions of too much tutoring on the bracket system
Yeah.
itself, because they got to be really clear with this because people are
So, yeah, I don't know if I necessarily agree with adding them to the list, although there's no real harm in it because it's, like you were saying, Eli, they just want to put a whole bunch of tutors in the list as well as the... It feels like it should be covered by the not too many tutors kind of thing in the brackets, but if you want to just explicitly say, no, these ones are the best ones, maybe fine.
yeah, and you could never be too clear with the Commander community.
Yeah, maybe I think the ones on these tutors that maybe stand out are Food Chain, if you consider that a tutor. I think that's one that I personally really wanted to be on the list. Food Chain is just kind of like a tutor out your best green creature and put into play, kind of weird. Not a fan of that one. Not Food Chain. Sorry. Natural Order. Sorry.
Natural Order, yeah.
Both weird, stupid green looking cards. Natural Order. Not a fan of Natural Order personally. Think that one's deserved. But I don't know if you guys have a contrary opinions to that you want to share.
No, I think they they added a few more green cards because everyone's just bitching and moaning. They're green is the strongest color. How's it have the fewest game changers? It's it kind of just does though. It just by nature of what it is. It's strong for reasons that are not really covered by things that would be put on the game changers list.
Yeah.
Yeah, ramp is good. Creatures are good. Drawing cards for having creatures is really good. But many of those cards are not game changer worthy.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about crop rotation? Because I think maybe there's some interesting people for and against that one. But I think the main thing with crop rotation being on the game changers list is that if it's not on the game changers list, there's already a couple game changer lands that you kind of just get to have 2 copies of that in your deck, right?
We had a theory about the addition of crop rotation because it is a tutor. It's a really efficient tutor, but it gets a land into play for sacrificing a land. So if you're not getting a game changer card with it, it's oftentimes not that amazing. But we thought, well, they've got the game changer lands, as in they have Gaia's Cradle as a game changer.
Yep.
They've got what's the next best
Field of the
one?
Dead.
Field of the Dead.
Glacial Chasm.
Yep.
Glacial Chasm. And getting any of those cards, maybe what they're thinking is
Ancient Tomb.
those are so powerful that to be able to get one of those, and if you're playing those in a deck with green, you probably want to have crop rotation. So to do that, you've got to take up 2 out of 3 game changer slots.
Yeah. And even if you're not getting a game changer, I mean, Jesse was talking to us earlier saying Dark Depths, Nykthos, there's other combos you can, combos, you know what I mean? But Nykthos is probably one of the best cards you can get with it a lot of time.
Breachy City, perhaps, when not.
Yeah, or what was it, Madara, this city of whatever that Madara card is. Interesting. But yeah, that's I guess it doesn't bother me that they're adding all these tutors.
They got Deflecting Swat on here now.
I know, Eli, that kind of breaks your heart a little bit because you're Deflecting Swat's biggest champion.
Deserves to be here.
Yeah.
Despite what Josh Lequai might say.
Dude, the Josh Lequai argument about that is so crazy. I don't want to rehash it, but...
if anyone hasn't listened to the Command Zone episode covering this from, 2 months ago at this point, Go and listen to that, because I think I disagreed with just about every single thing he was saying about deflecting SWAT, and I think they also brought up Bolt Bend.
Yeah.
And deflecting SWAT, it fills the same role most of the time as the free counter spells. They put all the free counter spells, or most of them, on the Game Changers list. So, in my mind, it kind of fits right in. Like, it's, for consistency's sake, it makes sense. What do you think, Jesse? I know you hate to see a deflecting SWAT when I have it, Jesse. What do you think?
Is it a game changer, Jesse?
I do, I think so, because I like to play a lot of, like, the similar effects to that, like with Bolt Bent and just the malfunction, untimely malfunction, which are
even the worst versions of this card are incredibly good cards. You would agree, right, Jesse?
I do.
So free version of that, kind of insane in my mind, at least. I don't see it the same way that Josh Sequoia and Joe Johnson see it, where it's kind of a Jewel Lotus type argument, where it's, well, how am I going to play my expensive CMC commander if people are just going to kill it? Of course I have to have free protection for it all the time.
It's not. I don't know. I think what were the other Josh Sequoia arguments? Like it's not a protection, or it's not a protection spell or something, because,
or he was saying something along the lines of it's fine because it's just reactive. It's not a proactive card. It just enables whatever proactive thing. He's like not. It goes with the broken thing that you're doing to protect that, the free counter spells.
Yeah, it takes the same spot as a free counter spell when you're going for like a proactive, like a win, like you're going for like a win or something, and your opponent has like a response, like a kill spell to stop you, right? You're like, oh, this is me stopping you. It's a proactive aid tool. So I don't know.
I know it's pretty good even outside of that, because there's the one time I was playing my life drain deck and you just stole the life.
Yeah,
you can use it for so many things. It's insane. You know how many extra turn spells say target player takes an extra turn? You can steal an extra turn with deflecting SWAT.
It kind of feels like
a better counter spell in some cases.
In a lot of cases, a better counter spell. Also, people might say something like, a card like Ragavan, it's only as good as your opponent's deck. No, it makes you mana. Like, it does something. It does other things.
Deflecting SWAT, if it's being used against removal, it's actively better than a counter spell.
Yeah,
like it hits one of your opponents. That it's freaking insane.
So I think we all agree that card deserves to be on the game changer list.
That's probably that, and Gamble were like the two other red cards that I could think of that would make sense getting thrown on the red game changers list, and they're on there now. So that's been dealt with.
Yeah, we mentioned it earlier. Feel the Dead added, as well as Mishra's Workshop.
It's fast.
Sure,
fast meta.
I don't have a problem with them adding like niche, like fast mana-ish lands. Sure, fine. Maybe a Mishra's Workshop isn't a great experience to play against, right?
On the off chance that somebody played that in a Commander game, what's it, like $700 or something? It's crazy expensive. If somebody played one, I would probably, as a medium experienced Commander player, be like, wow, that's crazy. Is that a game changer? And if somebody had got to tell me, no, it's not on the, I'd be a little confused about that. So I guess it makes sense that's there.
We were talking about Josh Sequoia's opinion on deflecting SWAT.
We've got to back him up on one take. He had a good take here about Seedborn Muse. He compared it to, and I think this is a very apt comparison, chaining extra turns because of the massive... And if you have ways to play things on all those turns, you kind of are just like taking an extra turn minus the card draw.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good comparison.
Kind of like the, what is it, the level up... the level up blue creature where you take an extra turn after everyone else's turn.
Yeah. What do you think about Seaborn Muse, Jesse?
Well, Seaborn Muse is more than just extra turns because it untaps your mana sources, and you can just... And it just lets you do more stuff. You taps your little mana dorks, activate abilities, whatnot.
Yeah. Pairs very well with a card like Leyline of Anticipation or a Vidalcan Orrery, where all your cards are just, they have flash, so you pretty much are just taking free turns. And decks that will play Seaborn Muse usually will have, even if it's just like activating abilities, like mana sink abilities, that is still like extremely powerful.
Counter decks, for example.
Oh yeah,
scary.
Counter deck would go crazy with a Seaborn Muse, and they do. Let's see. So I made the mistake earlier. Food chain. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I guess you could argue. I mean,
combo.
Yeah, no, yeah. So the thing is, like, if it's just as a combo piece, like, it's already kind of put in bracket jail, right? Bracket 3 jail, because you're not doing combos until like a higher tier. But I guess a fair food chain still can be kind of gross, right? You don't really see it very often, but I think it's okay, I guess. That's been what I've been saying the whole time on everything.
Pretty grody.
Yeah, pretty grody. Jesse, you okay with food chain being on the list?
Yeah, it's a combo card. You don't really want to see it pre-cons.
And again, you probably do have to explicitly put the combo card on the list, otherwise people are gonna quibble about it's not a combo.
It's not a combo. It's my what is it, Kresh? Is that what's not Kresh? What's my Prosh deck? It's not a combo. I'm just making infinite tokens.
Yeah, look, I didn't even have Perforos in play. It doesn't win me the game right away.
Yeah. You just have infinite mana.
Until they get the Phyrexian Altar.
Yeah. We've been going a little bit out of order here, but I think the last one we didn't mention is Aura Shards. I understand that Aura Shards is a pretty gross card to play against, but I was actually surprised when I saw them put this on the list, and I would like to hear your guys' opinions on this.
It's a meanie no card. Too mean.
Notably, so Jesse, sorry, go ahead before I interrupt you.
All right. I think it belongs in here and whatnot because I have experience against this card, especially with against tokens decks that play it.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty much you play any enchantments or artifact decks, you're pretty much screwed until it's removed.
Yeah.
It's pretty much a stacks piece for those decks.
I do want to say, I'm not mistaken in saying that the Grave Pact and Dictative Erebos are not on the list, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I remember we talked about that one point and how it fills a similar role as where, like you're saying, Jesse, it feeling like a stacks piece. It's kind of a card that says, as long as this is in play and I can fulfill one basic function of the game, my opponents are not allowed to have this type of permanent in play.
Yeah.
In the case of Grave Pact and Dictative Erebos, no creatures in play for all my opponents. It is possible that they could, if they've got a ton of creatures and you have very little, it is more possible. But Aura Shards might be, it's less mana, it might be a little bit easy. But that being said, creatures are probably a more integral part of the game to most commander decks than artifacts and enchantments. So kind of two minds about it.
Yeah. So I guess I'm not upset with it, but it's kind of weird, right? That they wouldn't have. I don't know. It's fine, I suppose.
This many additions makes me think it's fairly possible that they would add those cards in a future update.
Yeah. Okay. Now, a couple cards that we maybe see that are missing that we maybe would have expected to see. Maybe not on the game changer list necessarily, but given that all of these cards are added, why not a couple others? So one card for me that I've been pretty adamant about being a game changer the whole time, and I'm still baffled, is Mana Drain. They haven't added Mana Drain to the game changer list. And this is their description of why they didn't add Mana Drain. It is certainly a powerful counterspell. This is strongest in the mid to late game, acting as a counterspell that gives you a mana boost. While both of those things are powerful, a one-time surge of mana can be fun and is unlikely to warp the game when it happens later in the game.
Lies.
I would agree, Jesse, that I think that is not necessarily the case. But in addition to that, I don't think Mana Drain is the strongest in the mid to late game. I think a Mana Drain is the strongest in the early to mid game when you're countering someone's 4-drop commander and then untapping with 9 mana, right? I think that is exceedingly powerful, especially considering there's no downside to a Mana Drain other than your friends hating you. And it's probably, it's crazy. Counterspell is a perfectly playable and very good card, and this is strictly better times a million Counterspell. I don't know. Do you guys have opinions on Mana Drain that differ from mine?
Well, people don't really treat a counterspell like we talked about earlier. When not, well, people often treat it's like, oh, I'm going to cast my cool commander that costs 6 and they counter your thing. Not because your commander's good, because they want 6 mana.
Yeah. And that's a very toxic experience, I think, to you counter the player that's maybe in last place because he's going before you and you won't need to get the mana or something.
Not even just the expensive commander, just like Spencer was saying in the early game. Somebody goes to play turn 3 Cultivate. Oh, well, I want to have 6 or 7 mana next turn. Better mana drain that.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
Very toxic, I think. So that's really crazy. Another card that I think we've heard outrage over that seems to fit some of the other themes of Consecrated Sphinx and Trouble in Pairs and Necropotence, the Great Henge. People have been talking about that one as like insane green card draw spell.
What do you think, Jesse? Should they have gone more ham on some of the green cards like Great Henge, Crater Hoof, the group of green creature tutors that they mentioned in the article, like Green Sun Zenith, Court of Calling?
Court of Calling could probably go on there because that's certainly powerful.
Yeah,
it's
speed.
It's into speed.
It's kind of like a 1-mana tutor, haha.
Yeah, the Henge is good depending on decks.
Yeah, it feels kind of like a broken card a lot of the time to me.
Yeah, it's so efficient. It's probably good in most creature decks. I guess it's possible you could make a green deck that is wider than tall, and you actually have to spend more than 2 mana on the Great Henge, at which point it's still really good, I would say. Like, what's the least amount of mana, or the most amount of mana that you could spend on the Great Henge, and you guys would still consider it like,
strong? Very
strong to, like, too strong.
Like 5?
6. I'd still pay it at 6.
Yeah, like, even at 6 mana, I think it's still pretty good. Because it taps for 2 right away when you play it.
It
and
gives
then you gain
life.
2 life.
It gives you life, and your stuff gets counters.
Presumably, you can use that 2 mana on a creature that turn and draw a card immediately.
Yeah.
If somebody doesn't immediately kill the Great Henge.
Also, my face when I'm playing a blue or a red deck, and there's no cards in my color that can gain life, and the Great Henge just says gain 2 life in addition to whatever it's doing for no reason. Pretty cool. I know it's part of the green color pie, but why does it have gain 2 life on it in addition?
Thank God the Great Henge says it just gives you the 2 life when it taps, and it doesn't give you that in addition to the +1/+1 counter you get on your creature when you draw a
I
card.
always forget about that.
What the fuck?
Thank you, Wizards, for fire design. Thank you very much.
Yeah, fire emoji. Good job, guys.
Wasn't strong enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jesse, Court of Calling, you might be spitting with that one because instant speed, and it's also with Convoke potentially free. Like, you could have a big board and instant speed get a creature out that you need. That's kind of crazy.
Because Green Sun's the instant, but it's only green creatures. And
Green Sun's just a sorcery, so it's pretty. It's just green creatures. So Green Sun's probably relatively
Green
fair. Finale of Devastation, that's a really strong one.
Yeah, I think we had an argument about that in our comment section in another video.
Oh yeah,
I'm on the Finale is a very, very, very strong card train.
Well, it gives us thing haste, so it kind of gives you a pseudo Crater Hoof.
Jesse, did you know that Finale of Devastation also, and now this wouldn't bother you because you'd be ready, you can get something back from your graveyard with Finale of Devastation, not just your library.
I've done it.
It's
that's not a problem. I can excel that.
It's pretty good. Tooth and Nail, that's kind of a
combo card.
Yeah, it's also kind of a relic. That one probably fine with that not getting added. Crater Hoof caused a lot of discussion because people would be like, well, it's not a game changer. It's a game ender.
It's a finisher. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you could consider Crater Hoof kind of like a... We talked about this in a previous episode, but it's kind of like a combo piece, and the combo is have other creatures in play.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Defense of the Heart, this is a disgusting strong card. I am okay with it, given that it, as opposed to a lot of game changers, gives you at least a reasonable point of interaction.
It does.
There are things that you could do, aside from just having removal for it, that could prevent it. Like, people can attack into each other. There's things... I think there was an episode of Game Nights or Extra Turns where people actually had to do that. Like oh, I'll attack you, and, like,
you can
my
kill
creatures
your creature,
will die. Defense of the Heart... Very, very strong, but...
Has counters.
We put enough cards on this list this time.
Yeah, there's 2 axes you can go.
And they didn't put Soul Ring on there because I think... what's the direct quote in here? Gavin said that the ghost of Sheldon would haunt the WotC offices if they did that. Something like that.
Somewhere around that.
Yeah. Maybe that would make them design better in respect...
I think we could probably all agree that the format would be better without Soul Ring, but it will never happen, and I don't even know if I would want it to happen.
Yeah.
It's a special thing to Commander.
It would be rough to make it so every pre-con.
It's the brainstorm of. It's kind of like the brainstorm of like
Legacy or something.
Legacy, yeah. So it's their dumb card they get to play with.
Yeah, yeah. If every pre-con is all of a sudden not legal, that'd be kind of weird.
Looks at the Dredge Deck, whatnot.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So yeah, that's other thoughts is I would say
good job generally.
Yeah, generally, but I think to me what they have before for the total amount of cards,
Like
40?
Yeah, 40 now we're like
that's
at
right,
60.
40.
Yeah.
40, that's about
So
right.
to add 21 cards is a fairly significant change to the size of the list. At least I feel so.
It's a 50% increase, right?
Wow.
Yeah, it's a big increase, but maybe some people don't think that's too many cards to remember. I guess I'd probably err on the side of more cards on the list than not enough for consistency's sake and for the sake of maybe trying to protect more games by making it harder to play certain cards if you're actually participating in the bracket system.
Yeah, maybe it's better that there's less humilities in the game now, right?
Yeah, if it's achieving that, I think that's probably good.
But there's more braids in the world now.
Yeah. So another thing from the article was Gavin acknowledges that it was a mistake to not emphasize that the most important aspect of the brackets is the intent of play and not just the cards and the little blurbs that were listed on that graphic.
I think he did emphasize that.
Yeah.
I feel like they emphasized that. And people just didn't listen. People just didn't listen.
Yeah, so I had some experience with that. One of our friends when I built a deck, had a deck whatnot, but they just looked at the brackets as checklists and not for 10.
Oh yeah, what was the deck, Jesse?
It was like one of Bradley's decks, whatnot.
Oh, was it the Zada Hedron Grinder?
Yeah, he thought it's like, oh, because it didn't have like a certain.
Yeah, I think he was freaking trolling us, Jesse. We got freaking epic trolled.
Yeah.
That meme, and then I think not everyone's gonna be a fan of the bracket system, and it really
look. I can build a bracket 2 Zada deck.
Like we talked about on the brackets episode, that it's maybe not entirely possible, or I mean not unreasonable, but not feasible that every Commander player is actually even gonna look at that. Like they'll hear about it, but they're not gonna look into it too much because it's a high, or not really that high, but it's a
pretty low.
It's an upfront investment of actually reading the thing, which is to some people will consider that prohibitive.
And I will stake my claim, Eli. You don't have to hold the same opinion, but I think it is your duty to do that if you want to participate in the bracket system. You do owe it to yourself to read and comprehend the article.
Yeah, certain people, like Jesse's example, I think are not even they don't want to use it.
They don't want to, sure.
They want it to fail. And maybe that's not the case with our friend Jesse, but I hope it's not. But some people are actively invested in seeing something like this not work so that they can have problems in Commander and then say, see, there's nothing that can fix this.
It's broken. It's inherently broken.
There's also there's also people that just buy precons and play with their families and just friends that don't really look up stuff online too.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and I hope that Wizards keeps it the case that you can buy a precon and it feels like what a bracket 2 is supposed to feel like, and then it won't be the case where you have some precons. Because I think Gavin maybe mentioned this in like the initial article or like some videos, and some people brought this up like, well, some precons would be like a 3. I don't think that should be the case. Some of the commanders definitely, like Bellow, that raccoon Rakdos enchantment commander. That thing is kind of just so strong for what it does. But we recorded a different episode where we were talking about Anji Falconwrath.
Yeah,
incredibly strong commander. That precon's kind of dog shit.
It is.
Well, I'll stand up for it because for the 25 cards of poor quality in that deck, you at least can just discard them and draw something else. But yes, it's not like the commander is inherently broken, but the precon doesn't leverage the brokenness of the commander. It just does pretty fair things, I'd say.
So I would hope that remains the case with precons, where even if they are going to give us these broken commanders, at least you would have to work or add things to the deck in order to make it feel competitive with a bracket 3.
I would hope so too.
Yes. It's very kind of similar to like the Stella Lee whatnot deck, where it's very broken like spell slinger list whatnot.
Yeah, which set was that from again, Jesse?
Thunder Junction.
Oh yeah, I got a total blind spot for like the last several years of precons, but yeah, I remember there being some pretty broken precon commanders over the last couple years.
It's a 3-mana commander that just says when you cast your second spell each turn, exile the top card of your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play that card, and then it has tap, copy target instant or sorcery spell you control. It has and only tap, copy instant or sorcery. Cast only if you've played. Activate only if you cast 3 or more spells this turn. So it just if you play like ritual into a big spell, you just tap it and copy it.
Pretty strong.
Yeah.
Another really strong precon commander was I don't remember the name of the commander, but I remember the name of the pun name of the deck, Velociraptor. It's
the Cascade Dinosaur deck? Yeah.
Yeah, it gives Discover to your spells that you play, and just like that's just a broken mechanic that like anytime you have something that gives Cascade or Discover to other things, it's just not a recipe for good things to happen.
Yeah, so we have a lot of experience with Trumpeting Carnosaur. Very good card. Very disgusting.
Yeah, so you wouldn't want to just like say, oh, this thing throws Discover onto, or like whenever I play my commander, I get to Discover.
Like what is the Simic spell whenever you cast a large creature, the Simic commander, that you...
Oh, yeah, Modi's.
Modi
or...
Thomas's Snake commander.
Mm-hmm. Or the 4-color, whenever you...
Yidris.
Yeah, like these cards are ridiculous. But... Yeah, you guys have any final thoughts about the bracket update or any other, maybe, what you're looking for in the future?
It could have been worse.
Not that bad. So good. I think they mentioned that the next update would not be until the end of this year, and there will be no major changes until then. Unless they have to do an emergency banning. Is Vivi the new Nadu?
Get it out of here.
Well,
I don't think so personally, but it is a disgusting, gross card.
Well, that depends on how much people are going to use it in like bracket 2 or not.
Yeah, I mean,
if it's in bracket 3 through higher, that's not going to be too much a problem.
Sure, but yeah, I don't think there's going to be any emergency bans on it. I think they mentioned. Did they mention that they're gonna next time that they do the update at the end of the year, they're gonna look at maybe unbanning more cards? Is that something that I remember reading? Does that sound familiar?
I think it's more likely they're gonna unban cards than ban anything. So.
And they gave a justification for why, or for the likelihood of if cards could be unbanned or not for all of them. We're not going to go over all of them right now. You can read the article if you're curious.
Yeah, we'll try to link the articles in the description or something. But yeah, very good. So Gavin, he's really comprehensive with this stuff. He explains pretty much every decision or any decision they didn't make that was notable. Like we mentioned the Great Henge not being put on there. He did explain why in the article.
Don't agree with it necessarily, but...
Yeah, you don't have to agree with it, but like there's at least reasons that they're at least pretty transparent about the reasons. Now, I personally would prefer if Gavin... See, he's too nice, he's too selfless. I wish that he would say, so-and-so on the Commander format panel is a freaking dummy.
And opposes this being put on the list.
But he would never do that, because he's, like I said, he's too selfless. He's,
And for all you stupid idiots that think Rofellos should be unbanned, he said it probably won't be. I believe, if I remember correctly. Owned.
A good pick.
Good pick, yeah. Good pick to not unban.
Well, Jesse, you got anything else to say about Jank or the brackets? Is there any message you want to get out to the audience?
Yes. Not only build Jank decks if you want to or not, it's just mostly just for fun experiments.
Yeah.
I agree
with
that.
Recommend.
Yeah, do it.
You want to be more like Jesse, don't you? Like, be more like Jesse.
Oh,
he is the spirit of Commander. That's what we really should introduce you as. You really are like an inspiration, Jesse, to me, as far as the type of experience that I want to see in Commander and the type of player I want to see more often, I think. Because you understand that the main driving force of Commander is that self-expression, and you want to be unique, and you're not really like, you don't care about what everyone else thinks. And you also never bitch and moan about anything most of the time, unless I have my Shadrick Silver Quill avoid your Rakdos the Showstopper like 20 times.
Maybe humility will upset me.
Humility, yeah, that's
yeah,
fair enough.
When maybe an aura shards might make you a little salty.
Yeah, these would upset you, Jesse. They would enrage me.
All right, well, the creature known as Jesse.
Yeah, we're putting them away. All right, everyone.
Kind of sounded like that dinosaur commander that gives everything Discover. You're like a velociraptor, Jesse.
Get out of here, Jesse.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Please support the podcast.
Yeah, give us a comment. Let us know what you think about Jank decks, if you have any. Let us know what you think about the bracket changes and unbannings. If we forgot anything or missed anything, let us know.
Let us know if you like Jesse's decks, and please say nice things instead of mean things.
Yeah, let us know if we should have been more harsh on Jesse in the interview segment. It's for our own safety. We really can't.
We can't make him answer for all the dogs that have gone missing. There's too many.
Too many. Yeah, it's just like, what do you want us to do at this point? Like, what am I supposed to do?
What do you want me to do?
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone.